Long known is America's favorite pastime. Baseball is a game defined by many things: tradition, history, and heroes. From Babe Ruth to the likes of Willie Mays and Frank Robinson. The sport has seen legends leave their mark on it, but every now and then, the sport meets players who redefine the game. Mercurial talents who don't just play, but give a new meaning to baseball. Ken Griffey Jr. was more than just a great player. He was a superstar. He was a kid with a smile that lit up stadiums and a swing so sweet it felt like poetry in motion. Ken Griffey Jr. had a charisma and swagger that would change the game forever. Ken Griffey Jr. was born into baseball royalty. His father, Ken Griffey Sr., was an outfielder who won 2 World Series titles and an All-Star with the Cincinnati Reds. So needless to say, Ken Griffey Jr. was surrounded by baseball his whole life. He attended Archbishop Moeller High School, the same high school as his future teammate and Hall of Famer Barry Larkin. There, Griffey won the U.S. High School Player of the Year in 1987, and in his first 2 seasons, he hit .478 with 17 home runs. His natural talent was impossible to overlook, and he was soon drafted first overall by the Seattle Mariners, making his debut just 2 years later at the young age of 19. He was the kid, and his arrival was nothing short of special. From his very first day on the field, he showed the world he was much more than a name, and his rookie season was just the tip of the iceberg. In his rookie season, he had a batting average of .264, 61 RBIs, and 16 home runs. But what set him apart from his peers wasn't just the numbers, but his style. Ken Griffey Jr.'s swing alone was a beauty to watch. It was effortless, fluid, and iconic. It was something fans eagerly awaited, knowing they were witnessing something special. Griffey's swing was a trademark. It was so iconic that the silhouette later became a logo recognized as the Swingman, similar to Michael Jordan's Jumpman logo. It is considered as one of the most beautiful the sport has ever seen. It was powerful, yet graceful. He didn't just hit home runs, he launched moonshots, and he did all this with flair. He was a natural entertainer who brought beauty to the game. It wasn't just Griffey's bat that made him special. He was a player who could do it all. He could hit, he could run, he could make plays in the field, and he had an arm. He was the total package, an amazing athlete. And for him, it all seemed like routine. In his first decade with the Seattle Mariners, Ken Griffey Jr. established himself as a player who defined an era. From 1989 through 1999, he recorded a staggering 1,752 hits, 398 home runs, 1,152 runs batted in, and 167 stolen bases. He even led the league in home runs for 4 seasons throughout that time. He was also voted the American League MVP in the 1997 season, which many considered his best. In this season, he led the league with 56 home runs, 147 RBIs, 125 runs scored, and a .646 slugging percentage. It wasn't just his bat though. His defense over the course of the decade was elite, exemplified by his streak of 10 consecutive Gold Gloves from 1990 to 1999. His rather impressive range made it easy for him to make incredible diving plays and rob hitters of home runs. By this time, Griffey had transcended the sport. He wasn't just a baseball player anymore. He was a crucial icon. Kids wanted to be like him. They wore their hats backwards just like he did, mimicked his iconic swing, and dreamt of making catches just like the kid. He wasn't just a star on the field. That's right, he had star power everywhere. He was the poster boy for baseball, starring in Nike commercials and appearing on the cover of video games. He even had his own signature sneakers, the Nike Air Griffey Max from Nike. He made baseball the coolest it had ever been. Ken Griffey Jr.'s career is one that almost feels mythological. In 1990 and 1991, Griffey Jr. and Griffey Sr. became the first son and father to play on the same team at the same time. In his father's first game as a Mariner, on August 31st, 1990, the pair hit back-to-back singles in the first inning, and both scored. On September 14th, Griffey Jr. and his father hit back-to-back home runs in the top of the first off of Angels pitcher Kirk McCaskill, becoming the first father-son duo to hit back-to-back home runs. They played 51 games together before Griffey Sr. decided to hang his cleats in June 1991. After his MVP season, Griffey didn't relent. The 1998 season was followed closely by the media, as he was on course to break Roger Maris's record of 61 home runs in a single season. It was a three-way race that included Chicago club slugger Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire of the Oakland Athletics. However, Griffey fell out of the race due to some injuries, leaving him 5 home runs short of Roger Maris's record. Sammy Sosa would go on to surpass Maris's record of 61, hitting 66 home runs. But that wasn't enough to beat McGwire, who had 70 home runs, smashing Maris's record. Despite falling out of the race for the record, Griffey almost matched his previous MVP season, finishing with a .284 average, 146 runs batted in, and 56 runs in 161 games. In 1997 and 1998, Griffey launched staggering back-to-back 56 home run seasons. Fast forward to 1999, Griffey Jr. was ranked 93rd on the list of 100 greatest baseball players by Sporting News. At the age of 29, he was the youngest player on the list, and this was a major testament to the incredible feats he had achieved. In the same year, he was elected to the Major League Baseball All-Century team. While playing for the Seattle Mariners, Griffey was a 10-time American League Gold Glove winner, the 1992 All-Star Game MVP, 1997 AL MVP, 1998 ESPY co-winner for Male Athlete of the Year, and he won the 1999 Players' Choice Awards Player of the Decade. By the end of the 1990s, Griffey Jr. had transcended being a star, but even the brightest stars can face challenges, and that was the case for Griffey as he entered his 30s. Injuries began to take a toll on him, and he was slowed down significantly by it. What could have been an even more illustrious career was hampered by his body's limitations. Griffey signed a 9-year contract worth $112.5 million with the Cincinnati Reds in 2000. His season started slowly, and this marked the beginning of his decline. His stats were still solid that season, but it was a drop-off from his usual output. In 145 games, Griffey hit .271 with 40 home runs and 118 runs batted in, but his .942 on-base percentage was his lowest in 5 years. After this season, he was plagued with a series of injuries, which included season-ending injuries in 2002, 2003, and 2004. In this period, he missed a total of 260 games out of 486. His skills and reputation took a hit as a result. However, this didn't stop his love for the game. In 2004, he was able to avoid injuries in the first half of the season, and on the 20th of June, he became the 20th player to hit 500 home runs in baseball history. To make Griffey's seemingly mythical story even more exciting, he hit his 500th home run on Father's Day, a game where his father was in the stands. Ken Griffey Jr.'s career continued to be plagued by injuries, but this wasn't enough to make a dent in his legacy. He was an all-timer and a legend of the game. He had the respect of his peers, the fame and the endorsements, and most importantly, the love of the fans. With 630 career home runs, he was placed 7th on the all-time list. Griffey's achievements may even be more impressive considering he did it all seemingly naturally, in an era where the use of performance-enhancing drugs was rapidly growing more and more common among players. In 2016, Ken Griffey Jr. was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame with the highest voting percentage in history, 99.3%. The kid had come full circle, forever enshrined in the game's most hallowed halls.